For clothes that Tristan lost. At Bold 3 Detergent Plus Fabric Softener.
Hey you! Yeah you! Are you sick and tired of the same old trash of Zeb Wells' The Amazing Spider-Man? Oh boy, do I have the solution for you. Feast your eyes on this beauty. It's the brand spanking new issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. Hey, what are you still doing here? Do yourself a favor and go read it. Come on, it's on the house. Hey, welcome back to the stash. Now I know I'm late to the party with this one. I promise you it wasn't my fault. I've pretty much been sick for the entire week or so, and it's just sucked and it's ruined everything, and I just really hope that for today's video my voice doesn't sound nasally, but if it does, I am very sorry. But anyway, join us today as we take a deep dive into the latest release of my personal favorite series of the year, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 4. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a quick second to thank you all for the recent support on the channel, even while I've been away sick. We are also trying to reach 1,400 subscribers before the end of the month, and with your help, I know we can do it. So if you're new around here and like Spidey, or even just comic content in general, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. Oh, and one last thing, a massive shout out to Brandon for being the channel's first ever member.
I love you.
Seriously, man, it means the world to me, and I just can't thank you enough. So yeah, hopefully your video will be coming out soon, your requested video, which was one of the perks from the membership, and yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, with all that being said, let's get straight back into the video. Now, this particular issue in ways has been the weakest to some, or even boring, with people taking to Twitter or comic geeks or whatever to complain about it. The controversy, let's say we'll call it a controversy, stems from the fact that this issue has zero action scenes whatsoever and is solely focused on building up its characters with some good old-fashioned dialogue. It's honestly beyond me that some people fail to grasp the idea that not every single superhero comic needs action. You can have a compelling and brilliant story without the costume superhero or villains fighting. In fact, I'd argue some of the best stories ever include no action whatsoever. As an example, one of my personal favorite Spider-Man comics ever is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 37 from Volume 2 by the great J. Michael Straczynski. Now, for context, in the previous issue, Aunt May finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, and in this one, it is the big confrontation. No action scenes, no big bad supervillain, but certainly a lot of talking. It's one of the best Spider-Man stories I could ever recommend to someone. We never get stories like this anymore, and when we do, people complain. In this one, JMS was able to fundamentally change, develop, and enhance the relationship between Peter and Aunt May more than anyone had in their previous 40 years of stories. And all it took was just one comic that had the two of them just sit down and talk. That's why I think it's beyond stupid to call issue 4 of the Ultimate Spider-Man filler or boring or bad, because new readers simply don't have the attention span to actually read a book anymore. This was such a huge trademark of Marvel's success back in the day, giving the necessary time to grow and build up their characters outside of their costume and actually acknowledge their personal life. It's not filler, it's simply crucial storytelling to help build the foundation of their story. Now, speaking of the story, let's say we jump right in. So in case you missed the previous uploads, like if there is a playlist, I'll go over a quick recap. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 3 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter, now a married father of 2, that same radioactive spider along with a picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's cancel. The spider's bite gifted Peter incredible powers that he used to aid the masked vigilante called Green Goblin against an assassin sent by Wilson Fisk. But somehow Green Goblin was able to take control of Peter's picotech suit and expose his identity. But he also revealed himself to be Harry Osborn. Now our story begins with this version of the old Coffee Bean Gang meeting up for dinner. This is where we are introduced to this universe's Gwen Stacy, who has her own business and is married to Harry Osborn. The first few conversations are very standard stuff of the 4 people just trying to get to know each other. One of my favorite parts of this issue is the subtle eeriness that comes from Gwen and Harry. Well, Harry especially. It's first seen when Pete and MJ ask why they don't have kids yet, and Harry coldly responds with, "Due to the world they're bringing them in." Now, I'll just quickly say that the art in this issue is key, and I just love the effect it has on the overall story and theme. David M is the guest artist and does a pretty good job overall. I was really enjoying how he kept the original artist's style and design to give this series a real feel of unison between issues. It's like the old days when all the artists would, base their work off Romita since he was a standard until a certain Todd McFarlane came in and said, add a bunch of web lines, add a bunch of webs everywhere, big spider eyes.
Hey everybody, Todd McFarlane here.
We learned that this MJ is a little different from the others too. I was so happy when I first learned that they weren't going to do that annoying and horrible MJ as a reporter, like for her career choice. Seriously, it's almost as lame as her being Jackpot. Instead, here she started off as a model and would handle her own brand by herself, and then the right people took notice of that and hired her. She moved around a couple places and has now been under Altman for around 5 years. One of her new clients happens to be a certain Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson. They in fact finally settled on a name. They've decided to call their news site The Paper. It's meant to be clever and apply on with how it's a digital, website, but also it gives off that vibe that it's for the everyman. Hickman also lays down the foundation of a potential switch from the Bugle to The Paper for Peter, with having Gwen Stacy pretty much call him out on it. She claims people need heroes, and if his uncle is willing to report on the web-slinger, he should probably give him some of the photos he takes to use. Peter tries to just move past it by saying he works for the Bugle, and Gwen just coldly replies with, "And you always will with that attitude." Gwen then takes off to the restroom with Mary Jane following, and during the scene as they fix their makeup, Gwen asks for a favor from Mary Jane. She wants to set up something between her and The Paper to help finance them. Now, while this is all happening, Peter and Harry talk about more secretive matters. He calls out Peter for not telling MJ that he's Spider-Man, and he uses himself as an example of what he believes is a man who loves his wife by admitting that he's told Gwen pretty much everything about his career as the Green Goblin. I don't know, maybe to me at least, this definitely feels like something that could crawl its way back later on, especially with how odd Gwen in this issue acts at times. I know she sort of blamed it on her just being constantly in business mode, but now that she wants to fund The Paper, there's definitely room to sort of explore this. Now, remember when I said earlier that there was this weird, eerie feeling from Harry? Yeah, well, this scene takes the cake. You seriously think you can live this life and insulate the people you love from the consequences? I don't even know for sure that I want this. Whatever this is. I've seen you in action, pal. Yeah, you do. And if I'm brave enough to do it, you sure should be. Harry continues to give Peter a proper wake-up call, and honestly the dialogue is just too good not to read it for yourself. But here's the big part, and personally it just left me shocked when I first read it. I was not expecting this at all, but Harry says the line. The famous line. You have great power, and with great power comes great responsibility.
So good.
Now, I personally love this take, and I just think it fits perfectly within the universe and the story they're really trying to tell, and it could potentially set up an amazing conflict with Peter and Harry, similar to his demise in the, main comics, but in this it could be his big lesson, like his Uncle Ben. Overall, in my opinion, this has got to be a strong contender for one of the best in the series. Well, probably not the best, but definitely up there out of the four. Now, there was not one action scene, and I could have still easily gone through another 100 pages of this story. It honestly, it felt like I was watching a really good film. Like, this is how comics should be and how they used to be. I love how the character building didn't feel useless as it lays down important moments for each character, so we the reader and even the characters involved can get to properly know each other, and it sets up a new friendship, though awkward with, their personality and economic status difference, which is all very realistically portrayed, and the future conflict in the goals of the heroes and relationship with MJ when he is finally brave enough to tell her that he's Spider-Man. Although, like in 616, I feel like she probably already knows this. But I gotta say, I'm already loving the fresh dynamic they're setting up with Peter and Harry. Like, I'm feeling a mix of early Professor X, Magneto type of relationship where, they're friends for now, but they'll become enemies later down the line. He is the Green Goblin, of course. But now they could also do a mix of the classic tragic mentor's death and /or journey to the dark side. This doesn't really help the fact that he's married to Gwen Stacy, who could very easily be used as a turning point for Harry. Another thing I really love about this issue and this series in general is just the way that it's sort of redeeming Mary Jane's character because, throughout Zeb Wells' The Amazing Spider-Man run, it's done irreversible damage to Mary Jane, and, I gotta say that this is slowly just, people that read it will actually sort of enjoy her character, and are reminded that, hang on a second, she's not shallow, mean, and rude to Peter, she's actually meant to be like this.
We broke up because you wouldn't stop treating me like a baby. Don't do this, MJ. Don't do that, MJ. Oh, that's too dangerous, MJ. I may not have super spider powers, but I'm not made out of glass.
You snuck into the middle of an armed military.
I don't know, it's just so nice seeing her written again with a writer who actually sees her as a character and not just a punching bag, because Zeb Wells has taken it way too far, and Hickman sort of just, with all the characters in general, has this sort of care for them that, you know, most writers now just don't seem to have, and I really appreciate how he took the time in this issue to really sit them all down and just give them all their moments. It's very important for the storytelling and just overall building up their characters. And Hickman is just so good at it. The way he sort of is like the master of the more sit down scenes where they just talk. It's great. He showed glimpses of it in the previous issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, but here it's just shining. It shines fully. But that is it for today. If you have enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because here any support means so much. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of this issue down below. We can start a conversation. Be sure to tune in next time for more Spider-Man content. Same web time, same web channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and see you in the next one.